I have to say, I think one of the worst things that happened in the COVID era is that our own government deliberately withheld information from us, from the American people, tried to propagandize the American people, used the arms and agencies of government to actively censor Americans who dared to question the propaganda, and they're still lying to us. And I'll give you the proof of it. I wrote the bill that requires the administration to declassify the intelligence assessments and reports related to the origins of COVID-19. Now listen, I just want to say, everybody sitting on this dais has read these. I've read them. I guarantee you my colleagues have read them. I know what the Energy Department concluded.
Today we're diving into a Senate hearing that's making waves across the nation. Senator Josh Hawley takes on a prominent doctor over what he calls a propaganda effort against the lab leak theory for COVID-19's origins. This confrontation gets heated, bringing to light government censorship and discredited experts. Stick around, hit that subscribe button, and let's break down this explosive exchange.
I have to say, I think one of the worst things that happened in the COVID era is that our own government deliberately withheld information from us, from the American people, tried to propagandize the American people, used the arms and agencies of government to actively censor Americans who dared to question the propaganda, and they're still lying to us. And I'll give you the proof of it. I wrote the bill that requires the administration to declassify the intelligence assessments and reports related to the origins of COVID-19. Now listen, I just want to say, everybody sitting on this dais has read these. I've read them. I guarantee you my colleagues have read them. I know what the Energy Department concluded. I know what the FBI concluded. I knew what they concluded years ago because we could read them when people like Dr. Fauci were out there saying the lab leak hypothesis was totally discredited and nonsense. You could go read the intelligence and know our own government thought otherwise. And at this late hour, this government still refuses to release the intelligence. They are blatantly disregarding the law that this body passed, the Senate passed, unanimously. The propaganda involved in the origins of COVID-19 is astounding to me. It recalls the worst of the wartime propaganda in years past when the government would deliberately lie to people. And here that's what they have been doing with COVID-19 and are still doing it. You had this whole cabal led by Dr. Fauci and others who, as soon as the lab leak hypothesis that we now know is a lot more than a hypothesis, as soon as it's mentioned, what did Fauci do? We know because this has all been litigated in a federal district court. In fact, in multiple federal courts. I've got the finding of fact from the court right here. They lay it all out. Fauci goes to the WHO, asks the WHO to intervene to discredit the lab leak. He then speaks against it multiple times from the podium at the White House. He then does countless media interviews. I mean, my gosh, what show has he not been on? He's still on TV, spewing this misinformation, as he would call it. But he did these multiple interviews where he says, no way, no how, lab leak not possible at all. And then he coordinates, and the whole federal government coordinates with the biggest tech companies in the world to suppress, and media companies, to suppress any American who would ask questions about it. It's absolutely disgraceful. Dr. Gary, you were part of this propaganda effort. I mean, you were right at the center of it. It's astounding. You wrote this piece, this Nature magazine piece, or whatever it was, that we've heard testimony here today, Nature Medicine, March 17th, 2020. We've heard testimony here today from other scientists on the panel that it's basically an opinion piece. You said at the time that definitively SARS-CoV-2 is not a laboratory construct, Of course, our own government, key agencies have concluded otherwise. And on the basis of this, Dr. Fauci and others cited this piece and went out to use it to mobilize.
Senator Hawley starts off strong. He highlights how, during the pandemic, the government actively censored information and pushed a narrative. He points out that the law he authored, requiring the release of COVID origins intelligence, is still being ignored. This information could have shown a very different picture about where COVID actually came from. Hawley's frustration is clear. Critical details are being withheld from the public. Hawley dives into the central role of Dr. Anthony Fauci, who he says led a group to shut down the lab leak hypothesis. He claims that Fauci worked with global organizations and media to discredit the lab leak idea. Hawley pulls out emails, legal findings, and quotes from Fauci's media appearances. According to him, this effort wasn't about science, it was about steering public opinion. It's absolutely disgraceful, he says, pointing to Fauci's attempts to make any questioning voices seem absurd. He turns to Dr. Gary, a key player who co-authored an early paper on COVID's origins, claiming the virus couldn't be lab-made. But according to Hawley, it was just an opinion piece used as a tool for censorship. People were fired, banned from social media, and ostracized for questioning it. Hawley confronts Dr. Gary with his own emails where he admitted he couldn't see a natural explanation for COVID's origins. But somehow, the lab leak theory was dismissed anyway. Hawley's demand is clear. Do you regret being part of this propaganda effort? As the heated exchange draws to a close, Hawley sums up his outrage. He accuses Dr. Gary of participating in one of the worst propaganda chapters in this country's history. His stance is powerful. It is wrong to censor and lie to the American public, and you should have done better. Dr. Gary insists he had no control over how his work was used. The exchange leaves viewers with tough questions. How much did officials know, and why was this information withheld? Whether you're on Senator Hawley's side or not, this hearing raises serious concerns. Government transparency, freedom of information, and the public's right to know the truth about the pandemic are issues that affect us all. What do you think? Was this an attempt to hide the truth, or just a scientific process gone wrong? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.